Can I dance for you? Would that be cool? Can I dance for you? Would that be cool? Butterflies in my stomach, butterflies in my chest. Heartbeat like a bird that's humming. Trust your words cause you know me best. Let's take a walk down a brick road. Click your heels and you'll be there. I want you, do you want me to? Once you hear the rhythm playing, promise you won't be complaining. I'll be here for it if it's for you. Once my body gets to swaying, promise you won't be complaining. And I'll be saying, yeah. Can I dance for you? Would that be cool? Can I dance for you? Would that be cool? Yeah. Beautiful girls are coming, funny girls are real sweet. I don't say these words often, loving you has left me weak. But let's take a walk down a brick road, click your heels and we'll be there. I want you, do you want me to? Once you hear the rhythm playing, promise you won't be complaining. I'll be here for it if it's for you. Once my body gets to swaying, promise you won't be complaining. And I'll be saying, yeah, yeah. Can I dance for you? Would that be cool? Can I dance for you? Would that be cool? Oh, every heart in the world is looking for a partner.
NAACPIvey.com. Mr. Ivey know the show must go on. And for Cincinnati, man, I put on. Tunes made another flame beat for me to cook on. Raised arms, close fists, yeah, too strong. Team NI, chop it up at the chop shop. Top notch with the king flow, the hot shot. Cop squats in, listen to the real. Jumping like hopscotch, nobody harder than, oh, no, think not. Not only citywide, but nationwide. Superlative, keep it locked like them Haitian guys. Put the truth in the airwaves, we talk about it. Brand new like the templates, let's be about it. Who got the info by the AM? John will be the rapper, got them jamming when they play him. Staying in my lane, they ain't gotta okay him. Who the host with the scoop? Yeah, they gon' say him. Ivy, so superlative like a bag of Grippos. Show you where the bricks at, Cincinnati Reds at. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at. It's the 5-1-3, yeah, you know the flow. What's the word, Nate? Let them know the show. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at.
Good morning, everybody, where my people at. Hope you're doing well. A beautiful Thursday, which, as everybody knows, Thursday is a new Friday, so your weekend begins today. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. On today's show, among other things, I want to talk about the comments of Joe Deters, who's the Hamilton County prosecutor. He said, or at least a quote is being attributed to him, in relation to CPS, that they use an atomic bomb when they could have used a pea shooter in terms of dealing with the football coach. I believe the brother's name is Armand Tatum. Did he deserve to be fired? Is Joe Deters right? Is Joe Deters a hypocrite? Oh, thank you, Brandy. Appreciate it. Shout out to Jono and Tunes. They made that for me a few years back. I stopped using it, but I'm gonna bring it back because it's super dope. Appreciate you. Good morning to you. Also coming up this morning, we got a couple of guests that are going to be joining us. We're going to get a chance to speak with the new president of the Charter Committee of Cincinnati, Darrick Dansby. We'll pick his brain as to what is the Charter Committee? What's the difference between the Charter Committee, the Democrats, Republicans, Independents? What's the difference? What does that mean? As Black voters, what does that mean for us? Are they a viable option? And we'll talk a little local politics as well. That's coming up at 8:30 a.m. At 9 a.m., we're going to speak with a local journalist from WVXU. And she covered a story about displacement in downtown. And everyone has been talking about displacement and gentrification. So I want to make sure that we're up to date on what's happening in the city. So all that coming up today. We got guests coming in at 8:30 and at 9 a.m. And along the way, you got yours truly with more superlative flows on people, politics, and pleasure. So let's get into it, shall we? So last night, not sure if you got a chance to watch it, but there was the first installment, the first round, I think is probably the best way to say it, of the town hall meetings, the town hall forums with the Cincinnati NAACP and the Prince Hall Masons, and I was your moderator. And it did not, well, everything went as planned, but we didn't get all of the candidates that we thought we were going to go, but get. We had planned to have 6 candidates, but only 2 were with us last night. For me, the show goes on. You know, for me, that just gives the candidates who were there more visibility. We talked yesterday with 2 of the candidates, Tierra Powell and Rob Harris III, the candidates for Cincinnati City Council. I thought it was interesting in terms of getting more information about the 2 of them. I was a bit disappointed, but not super disappointed that the 4 other folks were not there. There were a mixture of reasons. I'm not sure what's happened. I haven't talked with the NAACP since yesterday, so I don't know if they've gotten updates. I know we were supposed to speak with, as a matter of fact, I think I still have the graphic here. Do I still have the graphic here? Yeah, I still got the graphic. So that is what they were anticipating. Logan Simmering, I think they found out kind of last minute he had some things that happened, and things happen. Rob Harris was there last night. Brian Gary, again, I'm not sure if they had any more conversation with him, but the last conversation I got was they were expecting him to be a part of it, and he just didn't show up. Tierra Powell, she was there. Gallon G. Gordon, I think he had a scheduling conflict, so he's going to be rescheduled for perhaps next week or the weeks afterward. And then Tom Brinkman Jr., as I understand it, they just didn't get any word back from him whatsoever. And I say this because, I think, things happen. If something happens, family, whatever, you get COVID, you got a scheduling conflict, I understand it. But, over the years doing this, there have been times where the NAACP reaches out and they get no response, or they get a response and then people don't show up for whatever reasons. Speaking of Joe Deters, that happened last year. I was set to moderate the debate between himself and Fanon Rucker, and he didn't show up last minute. Of course, he ended up winning. So, that goes back to the people. If the people aren't outraged or don't give a damn about these kind of things, it don't really matter. I'm just here to tell you what happened. So I thought it was very interesting. In terms of, I didn't know anything about Rob Harris or Tierra Powell, so I got a lot more understanding of them, and perhaps you did as well. As I said, there is a record number of people who are running for city council, a record number, and not all, the vast majority of them are not endorsed. Endorsements matter, kinda, maybe a little bit, not really. I'm really into the person themselves, and I love the idea of new leadership. So last night was an opportunity for you to get a chance to see potentially some new leadership. So I do have some thoughts about it in the process in general, and I will be moderating some of the other ones coming up, and I'll tell you which ones so you can tap in. I say, listen, no matter who the moderator is, you should be there and check it out. It's on Facebook. It's so easy to digest. It's so easy to tap in and check it out. So why not? Good morning to the Choppers. How are you?
Get to the chopper!
Chopper. Sharp Rice, good morning, Nathan Choppers. Ashley Rice, good morning, Nathan and the Choppers. To all my friends on Spreaker who are listening that'll never get into the chat, I know you're there because I see the numbers. Thank you for checking out the show today. To my friends over on the TuneIn app, I know you're there, even though you don't ever chime in. Thanks for checking out the show this morning. So if you're checking the show for the first time, who am I and what do we do? Well, I'm 20 years in the broadcast game and have been successful on all levels: public radio, commercial radio, and now the internet, digital radio. And I love it. I love breaking down the daily news and being a conduit between what's going on and the people. And so I created this show many years ago as an extension of my own creative abilities. And this is what I do. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it very, very much. This is a part of the Sin Digital Media Network. There are various podcasts and live streams, all locally based, but talking about a variety of different issues. And you can check us out on our Facebook page for now. Good morning to you. If you want to share your thoughts, 513-873-7134. I talk about people, politics, and pleasure. I don't just talk about politics because I get bored with it. This show and myself, I'm a creature of the age that I live in. Real simple. I live in a digital age. I've created a show for the digital age. And so we talk about everything. People, in particular, Black people and the world around us. Politics, in particular, how politics impacts Black people, and pleasure. And there's so many ways of looking at it, including viral videos. We talk about it all. If it's hot, you can believe that typically we're talking about it. If it's local and it's relevant to our community, get it, our community, typically I'm talking about it. If that's something you think you can get into, tap in, hit me with a subscription. If you like, screw this guy, I don't like him already, we'll holler at you then. We'll holler at you. 513-873-7134. If you'd like to share your thoughts this morning, I am here to receive it. Here to receive it. How many people got a chance to watch any of the forum last night? What did you think about the two candidates? I'd like to get your impressions. Did they win you over? Did they earn your vote? What did you think? I want to start the show right there. What did you think? That means everything. Your opinion means everything. I do want to remind you, I still have some of the graphics that the NAACP uses. I just want to remind you that early voting opens October the 5th through November 1st. All vote by mail ballots that were requested are mailed October the 6th. You've got 3 options to vote in the election: early vote, early in person at your local board of elections, absentee. And let me move that graphic right there and I'll read the next to you. Or at your assigned polling location on election day, which is November the 2nd. November the 2nd. So what does this all mean? This means that if you're not registered, you still got time. You still got time to get registered. Still got time to get registered. And there's some information right there about voter registration and some information that you can use courtesy of my friends over at the Cincinnati NAACP. Again, they do great work educating the community. Anybody that's doing anything to educate the community or to enhance our standing in the community, I'm with you 1,000%. I'm with you. The last day to register to vote is October the 4th. October the 4th. If you are not currently registered or you need to submit your name or address, you must submit your voter registration form to your local board of elections no later than 9 p.m. on October the 4th. All right, just a little bit of information for you to make sure you can share this stream, share this information with your friends. You can go to Cincinnati NAACP's Facebook page. You'll find this information there as well. And again, I just want as many educated people as possible to let your voice be heard. You know what I'm saying? There's too many smart dumb cats out there. They're very smart, intelligent people. They've convinced themselves that their vote doesn't matter. Meanwhile, you got other folks going in there making things happen. So I just want to put that out there to you. Again, 513-873-7134. And I throw it out there. I already know that calling into a show such as like this is not for everybody. I already know. The vast, vast majority of people, you're going to sit back and just take a free ride of my thoughts. Gucci. I've got no problem with it. It's all good. Let me just do the heavy lifting. Let us do the heavy lifting. By us, I mean the choppers. I swim with sharks and they all bite. They bite. So just a word to the wise. This is not your normal chat room. I don't know what anybody else is doing, but right here, with these folks right here, this is something different. Cut a little different. So all good people. I know many of these people on a personal level, very good people. Some I don't know that well, but all really good, smart, intelligent Black folks primarily. and the others too, as Jericho might say. And you're always welcome. Just don't come in here with some dumb ish, because I ain't even gonna have to deal with it. The sharks don't get you. I'm just telling you up front. Just telling you up front. All right, 513-873-7134. Let's get back to this cover story, shall we, for a second? Are you a fan of Joe Deters? Did you hear what this man said? Or at least this quote is being attributed to him. I like to put it that way, because I did not hear it for myself. But apparently Joe Deters announced that there probably will not be any charges involved in an incident that involved some high school students on the West Side, West High. And I haven't seen the video. Maybe some of you, anybody seen the video? Have you seen this video? I haven't seen it. Do I want to see it? Yeah, only because I want to be able to talk intelligently about it. So if somebody knows where it is or something like that, post a link for me. I don't want to see anybody getting abused or anything like that, but just for for the sake of being able to speak intelligently. That's it. But purportedly, the video shows a hazing incident involving high school football players. And this incident led to Armand Tatum, who is the football coach, being fired, as I understand. If I'm wrong about that, set me straight. Set me straight. I don't want to be wrong. Right. And as I understand it, there is a petition that is still circulating with thousands of people who have signed it, saying that they don't want the coach to be fired. They want to bring him back. The coach did nothing wrong. So I never thought that there'd be any charges whatsoever, but Joe Deters announced there probably won't be any charges. He basically said it was a little bit of nothing. He said basically it was just like a little sports hazing incident and no big deal. And yeah, the kid might have been embarrassed, but he wasn't really harmed. And he said the charges are highly unlikely. He said it was just a bunch of kids screwing around and things like that. And there's just so many different ways that we can look at this. So many different ways. He had a press conference on Wednesday afternoon, and he described the incident. He said that it showed Western high school football players. Now, again, if you know anybody that goes to West High or even involved with this, man, you got a friend or something, tag them in this. Send this to them and say, Nate's talking about it. I would love to talk with some West High parents and even some of the football players themselves. So tag them and let them know. So in the video, allegedly, I haven't seen it, it shows West High school football players holding down a teammate and pulling his clothes off. And he said it's an example of normal behavior among teenage boys. Is that true in your opinion? 513-873-7134. Is that normal behavior among teenage boys? I was a teenage boy once, and there is a certain degree of like pranks and hijinks and that kind of stuff that goes on among teenage boys and things like that, especially when you start talking about sports. So on some levels, I can understand where he's coming from. I never participated in anything like that. And to my recollection, nothing ever like that ever happened to me. But I want to get your thoughts. He also characterized the response, which led to the firing of Armand Tatum of his duties and suspended the team's season as a sign of the litigious culture in which the district's fear of lawsuits overpowered its morality. Damn. He said the district's fear of a lawsuit overpowered their morality. Quote, this is a bunch of kids screwing around. Quote, they ought to apologize to Tatum and beg for forgiveness and reinstate the season. Now, CPS put out a statement, and I'll read that to you in just a second here. Apparently, the video was recorded back on August the 30th. And CPS suspended the season and removed Tatum as head coach on September the 9th. Now, you may already have an opinion about this. If so, what is your opinion? You may have a little information. You may have medium information. You may have a lot of information. But whatever level of information you have, I'd like to know what your gut response is to this story at 513-873-7134. Don't be shy. Go ahead and share. You can drop it in the chat. That works just as well. You don't have to call in, as I said. Now, apparently, supporters for Coach Tatum and some of the members of the team held a protest calling for his reinstatement the very next day. Also, parents are in support of the coach and said he was a role model for students. And there's a change.org petition. I'm going to go to it right now and check it out. They're demanding that Cincinnati Public Schools reinstate him and the team. And what I don't understand is if this man is so beloved by the team and the players and the parents, And again, I don't know what his involvement is, then why does CPS fire him? What does CPS know that's not out there to the general public? It begs the question, right? It must be something, you would think. Or was it a knee-jerk reaction, as Joe Deters said, going back to, a litigious culture, meaning that, lawsuits. And he said overpowered its morality. Now, I got some choice words for Joe Deters, because who in the hell is he with some of the decisions that he's made that are very, very questionable, very questionable. But overall, he said that CPS brought an atomic bomb when all they needed was a pea shooter. Some might make the argument that he brought a pea shooter to the Ray Tensing trial when they needed an atomic bomb. I'll get into that. But I want to get your thoughts about this. What do you think? What do you think? The nerve of Joe Deters to talk about what CPS should do. And somebody got that feeling? I don't know. Is there anybody in here that is a parent? Your child attends the West High, or you got some kind of close connection? If so, I'd love to get your thoughts about it. What do you think? Again, 513-873-7134. Brandy writes, greetings. Good morning to you, Brandy. Andrielle writes, good morning, Nate and friends. Good morning to you. Danita writes, good morning, Choppers. Happy Friday Eve. Got my earpiece in, ready to hear the flows today. Hey, good to see you, sis, as always. Brandy writes, good morning. Make it an awesome day, folks. Every single day. We know what the motto is. We got a motto in everything. You know what I'm saying? Tiff writes, good morning, all. David writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you, David. Hey, listen, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit me with that like and share. Hit me with the like and the share. Please share this stream. When you share the show, quite frankly, more people see it. It means everything. It means everything. But back to your chat. Fame Rothstein's in the house. He writes, good morning, folks. You are immersed in the alt middle. Deters is consistent. This was ostensibly his reaction when a similar incident occurred at a rich white school. Daryl writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you, Daryl. Kelly Prather's in the house. What's up, Kelly? It's been a minute. How you doing? Keisha writes, Grand Risings, Nate and the Choppers with a Z. Jocelyn writes, okay, Mr. Deters, let me get together a bunch of football players who will take you to an isolated field, strip you of your clothes, threaten you with bodily harm, film it, pass it around to other people. Boys will be boys, right? Honestly, Mr. Deters, if I was your mother, I'd give you such a smack upside your head. Okay, so you ain't feeling it then, Jocelyn, huh? So you must. So you feel, again. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm just trying to synthesize what you just text. So you think that that is a very bad. So is Joe Deters playing it down? Does Joe Deters have some type of, I don't know, male bias where he's like, boys will be boys. Back in my day, is that what this is? I mean, let me start right here. How egregious, how much of an offense is that, right? Like, we may not have all the details. Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate it. We may not have all the details, but we do know, even if you didn't watch the video, we do know what's being reported from the video. That seems to be facts. That there were members of the team. They held one member down, one male down, and stripped him of his clothes. Now, if that's your child, let's do it that way. If that's your child, and then they videotaped it and put it online, from the comment I read from Joe Deters, he says that the boy's genitals was visible for like a second. Okay. So let's imagine that's your child. That's my child. How upset are you? Would you pass this off like, no big deal? It ain't no big deal. No big deal. What's the big deal here? Or would you be looking for somebody's head to roll? You tell me. I want to get your thoughts about it. Jocelyn feels like this has nothing to be, this ain't no small thing. Anybody agree with her? Tanika writes, good morning, Nate and Choppers. Good morning to you, Tanika. Nat writes, good Thursday, Choppers. Good morning to you, Nat. Good to see everybody here. Appreciate you. Hold on, let me check a couple things here. Want to make sure I share the show in as many places as possible. Oh, yeah. We Gucci. Regina writes, good morning, fam. Facebook didn't come up again. Oh, well, I'm here. Well, if you haven't already done so, Regina, I would encourage everybody to go on Facebook. I got a bunch of pages and go to the Nathan Ivey Show, which is really the official show page, and subscribe there as well. But you should have got a notification from CDM. I've been placing it in different places just to see what the reaction is and things like that. You should always be testing what you do. Anthony writes, morning chop shoppers. The other thing is that across the board, notifications are less than perfect. Even on YouTube, they're less than perfect. Sarah writes, Grand Risings family. Good morning to you, Sarah. Regina writes, good morning. Facebook came up today. Great. See, somebody is coming up for some people and others not. Let me see. Angela writes, good morning, choppers, and Nate. Good morning to you. Kevin writes, great morning, great people. Nakia writes, LW is moderating tonight. Is that tonight? Hold on, let me double check my schedule because CDM is going to be doing the digital hosting for it. Nakia writes, moderator. Okay, you're talking about Lincoln. Anthony writes, like and share. Stephen writes, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Sister Iris writes, good morning, great people. I would be curious to hear what you think about those responses yesterday from the two candidates, in particular, Iris, about the collaborative refresh. I will say, and I ain't come down too hard on them. I started to, and maybe I should have, out of love, not out of anything else. But here's what I will say to anybody running for city council, and if you come on the Nathan Ivey Show, what I'll say is there are some things that you just supposed to know. You know, if you're running for city council, there are some things that you are supposed to know. And in my humble opinion, there's a list of them, but on that list is the recommendations from the collaborative refresh. When I ask you, do you know what that is? And you tell me no, that's a big ass X because we're less than 2 months away from the election. When you gonna read it? How do you run for city council and you don't know that? That should be excuse me. Lord, forgive me for my brash delivery. That should be burning me up. It just feels disrespectful. It's like, what are you spending your time doing? When you preparing for city council, shouldn't that be on your list? You should know about the recommendations. And I'm not running for council, and I know it's out there. It's readily available. You should know this. You should know the recommendations on the mayor's corruption task force. You should know this. You should be an expert on this. To me, this is just like basic stuff that you should know when you're preparing to run for city council. And when I hear that, I'm like, I don't know how serious you are. I must admit, it makes me think, I don't know. And maybe I'm being too hard, but I don't think so. I mean, all you got to do is read it. I didn't say you had to be an expert on it. All you got to do is read it. But let me go to the phones here. Good morning and welcome to the show. Hold on 1 second, Sister Iris. Hold on 1 second. Let me make sure I get you plugged in. Let's try one more time. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. How are you this
morning? I'm doing great. We can hear you now.
Great. First, let me say your moderating, as always, is the bomb. And it helps when you have a moderator that knows something about subject matters as well. Because the follow-up questions are very important. And so that people who don't know who folk are, who are running for these offices, get a small glimpse into their thinking. And more specifically to your questions around the refresh and the collaborative and what has happened. One of the things that I find extremely disappointing, Nathan, is that we talk about these things often and a lot. You know, I specifically created Freedom Fridays, policing in the pandemic, so that there would be no interruption with the Black community in any development on policing in the city, whether it's from the sheriff, any police municipality that's in the county, and more specifically CPD. We've talked about the and refresh the reports, the recommendations, the fight, the struggle to get those things done. And I often say to people that, when people ask, well, how do you determine who you're going to vote for? Folk have to have some small knowledge of what you're speaking about. And more importantly for me, things that specifically impact or can reward or make our lives better in the Black community. Now, we all know that the CA has a class attached to it, and that class is all African Americans and or Black people. And it infuriates me sometimes when we want to get away from why we sued the FOP, CPD, and the city for racial profiling. It irritates me because we're just barely scratching at the surface to, shift culture, make all these policy changes. It ain't easy. That's why it takes so long, and you have to continuously do it. You ask some very pointed questions that I think people who are asking for a vote should have some knowledge of. And if they have very limited or none, I don't know what they've been paying attention to. I just don't. So I think what you did last night was give people an insight to, folk are asking you for your vote. This is serious. And let me tell you why. Because once people get elected and they have all these ideas, and I've seen it over the past 20 years, folks start to write legislation that can sabotage the work, right? So I almost don't want folks to do anything around this. Let us handle it. If you got an idea, complaints come through, let it rise to the people who are trying to get this work done. Because as we saw with the marijuana laws and some other laws, it can sabotage what you're actually attempting to do. And that is, say, for me and the Black United Front and the leaders of the free world, that is to say Black people in this city and or who visit this city, any additional trauma, pain, suffering, whether it's monetary, all the way up to their lives as it relates to interacting with Cincinnati PD and or their agents. That's what the class, that's how it reads. And so I need for people to understand that. I need for people to not come with some, I heard you say the other day, knee jerking, I hate that because that's what happens when something happens. Folks go, well, we need to do this, as opposed to getting the facts like we need to get today, because I don't know if Deters gave us the facts. I can't trust them on anything, but I digress. But we need for folk to understand why we did it, how we did it, and then what's being done lately, right? I didn't even send you a question and say, well, what were the three things that the Cincinnati Black United Front and the leaders of the free world got negotiated into the FOP contract? Yeah, Nathan, I didn't do that. And you know why? And because we tend to have something blow up in our faces before we see change. We actually are following the collaborative's provision, and that is to proactively do this work so that nobody gets hurt. And so when nobody gets hurt, it doesn't make the news. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, they did that. And these things are very important. So I think that I am going to ask that question so that people who are coming can get better in tune. The other thing that I think people should take advantage of is your show, Freedom Fridays, anything that's out there. I just don't know what people are paying attention to. And if you're just reading the fish wrap, I won't say that, the printed newspaper, and I'm not talking about the Cincinnati here. I'm talking about the one that's in that large publication. Then you're not getting the facts of the matter, and you're not getting the full scope of what should be happening or can be happening. The other thing, Nathan, I think is critically important about this work is that, we're about to go into this season of looking for a police chief, right? That's a whole nother set of questions that I would like to get answers from at least the choppers. Like, what are you looking for? I don't know if these individuals even know that. So it's perplexing to me. I understand, and I'm in awe of folk who want to run for office and who want to do these things. But I really wish that they would do some serious homework. Yeah, and I'll say this, and not that I'm trying to throw a name out, but there have been several of them that are running for office that I didn't know that were running for office that I would see on Freedom Fridays. And finally, one brother told me, he said, "Sis, I was learning. I was learning, and I thought, damn, this is this. Oh, excuse me. This is how you do learn. We're talking, bringing in the subject matter experts, giving you the data, walking you through the process of how we're trying to get these things done. And so those people I do appreciate, but for the most part, I'm not hearing anyone yet. I didn't hear anyone yet that has just a grasp of what it is that we're attempting to do around the CA, the MOA, and the refresh documents. But you did a great job asking the questions. I think you asked the dear brother question last night, and his answer just wasn't good. It just wasn't at all. And so hopefully he'll take a look at that and do better. It could have been stage fright, something like that. But yeah, I would suggest that you take a look at, how he did last night and get prepared for the next one. So, but I appreciate all that you did, all the questions that you ask, all the follow up, and I appreciate your knowledge and staying on top of this. So, folk, when you're hearing this, it's up to you to connect the dots and have a flow through so you can get to a period at the end of that sentence. Does this individual know what they're talking about, or are they grasping at straws?
All right. Thank you for the call.
Yeah. Thank you, dear brother.
Yep, most definitely. Appreciate the call. So, yeah, it wasn't too far off. And again, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody or dissuade anybody, especially not my peoples. I'm not trying to do that, but I can't BS you. It's too important. You got all these people running for city council. You have a responsibility to do your homework, and it's so easy. Like I said, she do Freedom Fridays. All you gotta do is sit back there and watch and learn. That's it. And if you can't do that, and we 2 months before the election, then I can't take you seriously. I don't care what your color is, whether I like you or not. It makes no difference. You're just not prepared. It just, again, I'm not putting any names out there. You watch it for yourself. I'm not trying to tear anybody down. I build people up. I build my people up all the time. But in my personal life, I don't lie to people around me. Like if you're in my sphere, I tell you the straight dope, straight up. Now, I may not say it. I can temper how I say it, but I don't tell no lies to the people personally, my friends. I keep it real with them because I love them. And when you care, you keep it real with people. And so I'm just keeping it real. I mean, some things I heard last night and the lack of knowledge, I was thinking to myself, what you been doing? We're less than 2 months away from election day. And I asked you a question about the collaborative refresh and then how are you going to successfully represent us if you don't even know what the issues are? And I've heard this from a lot of candidates. So I just put that out there. This show, my style is different than when I'm representing the Prince Hall Masons and NAACP. Right here, we get in the urns. We go all the way there because I got time to do it. There, I'm representing other folks. And so, I may pump the brakes a little bit. Here, we don't do all of that. So and y'all know that. Y'all know I'll stop the show like, look, brother, sis, you need to do this. I've done it before, live on the air, and I do it out of love. I'm not in any way trying to embarrass anybody. But I'm just trying to tell you, like, this ain't no game. Running for city council is not a game. It ain't just I'm running for city council. Now, this is serious. This is life and death. This is real serious. And so you'll hear me probing people and trying to understand the way they look at things to try to get a better understanding of it. And that's just a natural curiosity. But also I want to give people a chance because like she said, stage fright. Sometimes people get stage fright. I get it. It happens. I ain't above it myself. It happens. But I want to give them a chance to flesh it out. And then sometimes people will say something, but they don't really hear themselves. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me throw a life preserver here. Let me give them a second chance. So that's just to give you some insight as to how I do what I do. But let me go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, comrade.
Hey, what's up, Black Russia?
Not a whole lot. Hey, I checked it out for a second. I dipped in and watched it. And I saw 2 people on there, and I was like, pfft. And I saw the names of the 2 people. I was like, pfft, I'm cool. Neither one of them going to win. Neither one of them's endorsed by anybody. I mean, kudos to them for stepping up to the plate, talking to the people, though. But I guess the few that were on there, I mean, I heard the names that were supposed to be on there, and I was just wondering, hey, maybe they had something else to do to get some more votes. I don't know, but look,
well, I think let's run through the list real quick, and I'll tell you what I know. And again, if somebody's on here from the NAACP and they got more information. So as I understand it, Logan Simmering had something that happened last minute, and he let the NAACP know. Brian Gary, this is again, I know Brian, he seems like a cool guy, but to my understanding, the NAACP was expecting him, and they got no notification. G. Gordon Gallagher.
So he just blew it off. Okay.
I can't say what happened. I just said no notification because he could have had something very personal that happened. He could be in the hospital. I don't know. Gallon G. Gordon, he had a scheduling conflict, and Tom Brinkman, they got no response back from him. So that's what happened.
I don't know why they expected a response back from Tom Brinkman.
Well, because he's running for city council. And look, bro, he got the audience. 42. The population, not the elected, but the population in Cincinnati is 42 to 45% black. That's why they expected him.
Well, Tom Brinkman ain't paying no attention to that. He go coach. He wasn't thinking about that for him.
Well, then we should be thinking about him then.
Well, you should. Yeah, take it into consideration. I mean, hey, but look, my main reason for calling is because I want people to understand one thing about the collaborative agreement. The collaborative agreement ain't going on no more. Okay, the refresh and all that, that's just the update stuff that's already policy. We're not under the force of a court anymore for the collaborative agreement. That's number one. Number two, these two people that you had on yesterday, I'm not sure what their ages are. But I know for me, at my age, when the collaborative agreement came into effect, I was like 19. Okay? And so I'm thinking about why people are so like, well, not some people, Iris and maybe a couple other folks, why they're so taken aback by these individuals not being like 100% spot on with the collaborative agreement when Tierra Powell, I think, is way younger than me. I'm not sure about Rob Harris' age, but these people were kids when this came about. And to expect them to have a full grasp of the collaborative agreement when it happened, because now, again, we're not under the collaborative agreement anymore. You know, it's like you're expecting too much. You're expecting the world.
I don't think
and you're just not going to get that. I disagree. I think that you are expecting too much. You expect people who were kids at the time to be able to recite that shit word for word.
Nah,
I'm just like, that's crazy.
Nobody's expecting for anybody to recite it word for word. I can't recite it word for word. That's not the expectation. It don't matter how old you were when it started. Right here, right now, you grown and you saying you want us to vote for you for city council. One of the biggest issues that black folks are dealing with around the country is our interactions with law enforcement. So yeah, I expect if you're running for city council, at the very least, I expect for you to know what the current issues are around policing and black people. That's bare bottom. That's basic.
I hear you on that, but the collaborative agreement is not bare bottom. We're talking about a document created 20 years ago. That's not even in effect right now.
No, we were talking about the refresh recommendations.
But the refresh recommendations, bro. But see, that's the thing. That's again, we're talking about a 20-year-old document in terms of refresh stuff. Look, man, that stuff, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. They're not going to vote on that. That's not something they're going to have a vote on. That's strictly the city administration.
You're dead wrong about that. Absolutely. If you're going to be on city council, you got a responsibility. You're going to play a role in enforcing and making sure that the updates and recommendations are implemented and are done so in a timely fashion. That's your job. That's part of your job.
That's not true. It's the city administration and the police chief that's going to be on that. They're the people that's going to do that, bro.
So what's the relationship between city council and the city administration and the police chief?
They vote up or down what the city administration presents.
Exactly. So that's
what it is, right?
So they do play a role in it.
But they're not necessarily going to play a role in that. When it comes to the administration of the government, bro, they don't have to vote on that. The policies can be created within the administration,
bro. It's online. These people
I know
on
it's
Facebook,
online, but this ain't got nothing to do with people voting up or down on it, bro.
All this information is online. All these folks is on Facebook and Twitter and social media every single day. You tell me you can't go to a website and read this information?
Bro,
of course you can.
It's not the bare, bro. Look, that's not a top issue. A 20-year-old doctor is not one of the top issues today.
Nobody asked you to recite word for word. That's unrealistic. Nobody said that.
Exactly. So you expect the kids, people who were kids at the time,
but they're not kids now, though,
refer to a doctor.
It don't matter what they were. They're not children now. Those are two grown folks. All these people that's running for city council are grown. So I'm going to treat grown people like grown people and hold them responsible. I'm not going to treat you like you're a kid. Because if you're too young to understand what's going on, you're too young to get my vote, period.
That's not what I said, though. You mentioned my words. I was talking about at the time the collaborative agreement was created.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant.
Kids.
That's irrelevant. That's an irrelevant point.
No, it's not. Because the collaborative agreement, we're not under the collaborative agreement anymore.
Telling me the relevancy
because we're not under
how old somebody was when the collaborative was put in place. How is that relevant today?
It's totally relevant because, number one, they wouldn't have no institutional knowledge on it because they've never been on council. They've been kids. Okay,
what?
And we're not under the court. What? We're not under the court's jurisdiction right
you
now.
Sound ridiculous.
We're
man.
not. No, bro. You
sound
what you want. I know. We're not under the court's jurisdiction right now for no collaborative agreement. That was 20 years ago. And I'm saying some of the questions were cool, but that one particular, like, come on, bro. Like, we still talking about a 20-year-old document that they can't even vote on.
That's you don't even know what you're talking about, man. We're not talking about a 20-year-old document per se. We're talking about the refresh recommendations, which are very new. They should know this, all of them. And should the mayor. They should all know what the refresh recommendations are. Stop making excuses, man.
Bro, if that's not, I'm not making excuses because either way, those two candidates ain't going to win no way. The bigger picture is that we're asking questions about 20-year-old documents.
No, we're not asking
this is why we're stuck. That's why we're stuck in the black community.
Again, but okay,
this is why we're stuck, bro. No, I'm just saying this is why we're stuck. This is why we're stuck. We're asking about shit that happened 20 years ago.
This is not why we're stuck. What are you talking about?
And then Joe Deters did God's work yesterday because Armand Tatum's a good dude, man. And he wasn't even there when all that shit jumped off. Armand Tatum's a good dude. CPS owes him an apology. Because what they're going to do now, at this point, since they fired him, they ruined that man's reputation. And he wasn't even in the building when that shit happened. CPS, now, if this shit would have happened 48 hours ago and you'd have had some school board members on there, I wish you'd have asked about that shit. Because the reality is, CPS sued another black man. We see a black man go under the bus every day at CPS now. First, it was the guy that negotiated the bus contract. Then we got a black guy who, Armand Tatum, has been coaching all over the city. People know him, respect him, especially young black men. And CPS threw him out because the kids was dicking around. And he wasn't even there. Man, I'm Cincinnati, man. I'm up to here with y'all, man. We asked 20-year-old questions and we're throwing black men who work for CPS at their butt. Let's do better.
Nobody asked a 20-year-old question. But thank you for the call, though. I appreciate it. And I still think with this Armand Tatum situation that we don't have all the information. Maybe there's more to it. I don't know everything that CPS knows. All right. On the outside looking in, you might be able to make the argument that they overreacted. But again, that's why I'm asking the questions. I'm searching for information. I'm searching for knowledge. I don't know. So if there's anybody in the audience who can hear or see this right now, because we're live, then hit me up and let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me see here. Stephen writes, that's normal how now, wait. What's normal now is not our normal. I can tell you back in the day, there was a lot of unofficial hazing going on most football teams. Yeah, I get it. So what are you saying? Are you saying that this situation in West High is no big deal? How many people think, from what you understand, because we don't have all the information, that this situation of this hazing situation where they get one of the players, they hold him down, they rip off his clothes, they videotape it and put it on Facebook or social media. How many people think that's a small matter? And again, I like to make it personal in some cases. Imagine that's your child. Is it still a small matter? Livy writes, good morning. Sarah writes, Western Hills and CPS overreacted. Okay. Tiff writes, did they take into consideration how the student and his family felt about the situation? Not saying he needed to be prosecuted, but some disciplinary action should be taken. Anthony writes, we never tried to pull a teammate's clothes off in public. Might have snatched a towel off in the locker room or popped somebody with a wet towel. Yeah, so I did all of that, experienced all that. You walking through, they're going to snitch the towel and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I can't remember if I snatched towels. I can't remember. I don't think so. I can't remember if somebody snatched a towel off of me. I just don't remember. I don't think so. But I'm in the locker room with the bros. A mofo snatched the towel. I might get mad because I feel disrespected, but I mean, I'm going to let it all hang out. I ain't got nothing to be. Let it hang. You can go and put my clothes on and roll out of there. Pat writes, good morning. Iris writes, Deters got his nerves. That's the point I want to make about this. Joe Deters does have some nerve, because you can make an argument that he brought a pea shooter to a situation in which he should have used an atomic bomb. And I'm talking about the Ray Tensing Sam DuBose case. He got some nerve. I mean, on some levels, I feel like Joe Deters needs to focus on his prosecutors, because they did a terrible job. A terrible job. And again, I know I sound like a broken record, but here's the same man that let a woman go with no charges whatsoever when she, oops, my bad, forgot her baby in a hot car. The baby dies a grisly death. He doesn't charge her whatsoever. Some would argue he should have brought an atomic bomb to that situation. But he didn't even bring a pea shooter. He didn't bring any kind of weapon. He let her go scot-free on some sympathy type ish. Really? Some could make the argument that the prosecution's case in the Ray Tensing case was idiotic. The whole both trials was idiotic. I was told this mofo was up here in court doing this, fumbling papers, and got the nerve to say something's idiotic. What the hell? You? No, sir, not you. Not you, but I know most of the media has already forgotten that. I'm the only person still talking about it, but maybe I'm wrong in that, but I'll never forget it. Iris writes, I think we don't have all the facts. See, I don't think we have all the facts. I don't know why CPS let this man go. I don't know. I can't say whether it's justified or not. I got to be fair with you. I don't know, because they probably have information that we just do not. I can't even speculate. Susan writes, I don't care about the coach being fired, but that type of normal teenage behavior contributes to date rape culture when those football players become college students. You know what? This is why this is a chop shop. I thought the same thing. On some levels, I felt like Joe Deters should have kept his mouth closed. Like, for instance, he's the Hamilton County prosecutor. He has a right and a role to play in these kind of matters. So if he holds a press conference, which is his right, and he's talking about the fact they're not going to press charges, he should have left it right there. All this extra stuff about what he thinks and normalizing this kind of behavior, I thought it was a little bit sexist. I'm like, so this is okay, normal teenage behavior? How far are we going to stretch the whole normal teenage behavior thing? Susan, I thought something very similar. So I thought something very. See, now I know I'm in the chop shop. Lemmy writes, good morning. Good morning to you. Darlene writes, good day, Nate and the Choppers. Letty writes, grand risings, Nathan Ivey and the Choppers. Make life count, people. Absolutely. Angela writes, what is the races of those involved? It matters to me. It's a fair question. Nikki writes, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Nate. Regina writes, yes, heads are rolling. Angela writes, I would be pissed if, I think she means pissed. I would be pissed if it was my child. I would be pissed too. It would really depend on how upset my child was. If my child came home and told me this and was like, Dad, this is what happened, it ain't no real big deal. I mean, I was a little embarrassed, but they do it to everybody. I would still reach out to the coach. I would reach out to the coach first and let the coach know, because I want to because if that was my child, I would want to make sure that my child was in a position or in an environment that was a safe environment. So even if my child was like, Dad, it's no big deal, don't do anything, which my daughter does sometimes. She's like, Dad, don't do anything. I'm like, I ain't gonna do anything, because she know a mofo phone Voltron in a second for her. I would still have some issues as to the overall safety of my child. Is the culture safe? Is the environment safe? I got to be honest with you. I would still have those issues. Tiff writes, if it was my son, I'd be pissed. Brandy writes, if it was my son, it would be hell to pay for, period. See, I get it. I get it. That's why I'm not picking a side here. I'm just asking the question. I have seen that happen plenty of times in locker rooms. The only difference is there was no social media back then. When I say plenty, man, I mean plenty of times. Yeah, the locker room was the locker room could be a tough space for some people when you was in like doing sports and stuff, because the doors are shut, people getting disrobed, people feeling vulnerable, all kind of stuff. So, you know, people getting bullied. You got some people that got stronger personalities than other people, and then people could try to take advantage of that. So I definitely understand it. Let me give you a heads up, though. I want to make sure you know what's going on today. Coming up at 8:30 a.m., I'm scheduled to get a Zoom call from Darrick Dansby. Darrick Dansby is the new president of the Charter Committee of Cincinnati. There's Darrick right there. That's the brother, good brother right there. And you might have seen this promo on Facebook's making the rounds. He's scheduled to give us a call, a Zoom-style call at 8:30 a.m. this morning. All right, so stick around for that. Looking forward to it. And then at 9 a.m., we're supposed to get a Zoom-style call from a WVXU journalist named Joelene Almedarez. She's going to join the conversation and talk about how an affordable apartment complex in Cincinnati ended up displacing people. That's at 9 a.m. Everybody's talking about gentrification and displacement. Let's get into the conversation with the people that's reporting about it. Good morning to you. Angela writes, mine came up on Facebook. Great. Good to hear. Danita writes, from my understanding, the coach was not on campus when this happened. They were getting ready for practice. A senior player said he wasn't there yet either, and he feels like if some of the senior players were there, it wouldn't have happened. This player said he felt bad for the guy it happened to, and he said this isn't what they are about, and certainly not what Coach Tatum expects for them. So again, I don't know what situation, but like I said, you got people different. You got some people that got strong personalities. You got some people that got less strong personalities. And we already know how this works. You know, it could have been like, let's run with what Danita just said. The senior players are not there. So you get some of the guys together, they like, oh, let's do this to such and such, because they know such and such ain't going to do nothing about it. Now, you can't do that kind of stuff to everybody, because for some people, it's nuclear wartime. There ain't no I'm sorry, and they're going to chase you down and do whatever they got to do to you. Jay writes, it was an assistant who was aware of the whole thing. Oh, okay. Jay says an assistant was aware of the whole thing. Okay. Stephen writes, how many football players are there in this chat? Janice writes, football. I played a little football, but that wasn't really my sport. I was more of a b-ball player. Janice writes, good morning, everyone. Sayrod writes, the coach was collateral damage. He wasn't allowed to address the hazing with suicides or laps. It never happened to me while playing, but if you're a weak link on a team, you get messed with. I won't say weak link. I would say some people have strong personalities and some people have less strong personalities. And you know how this works. I've seen this happen on jobs, and it blows my mind. I've just sat back before, like, I just can't believe that some people allow themselves to be done this way. And you grown. I don't get it, but I think it just comes back to the personality types. So yeah, that can happen. Angela writes, however, also worth discussing is the 19 juveniles charged with murder. Stephen writes, I thought one of the candidates did not do their homework. Janice writes, I was disappointed with the lack of candidate participation last night. So was I, Janice, if I had to be honest with you, because you spend your time preparing for, and there's a big difference between preparing for 6 people and 2 people. It's a big difference. So I spend my time preparing for one thing, and then something else happens. But that's not of the fault of the NAACP, because they wouldn't have put the candidate form on expecting anything less. I think it's a multitude of things. Number one, humans being humans. Like, things happen. Things happen. Cars break down and people get sick and things come up and scheduling conflicts. And then just people deciding at the last minute they don't want to be involved with it. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason. Now, for me, I'm just an upfront kind of brother. If I'm coming, I'm coming. If I'm not, I'm not. I'll let you know and try to let you know as soon as I make that decision so you can make other plans. That's just me. Everybody don't feel that way. But I kind of ran through the list, and this is per the last information I got last night. So what I'm hoping, though, and it says nothing for what happened last night, because as the moderator, the show goes on. You know, I got a job to do. I'm going to do the job. I don't care if it's who's there. It is what it is. If there's one person there, we'll do a one-person forum. If, in fact, you know, the people that's hosting the forum decide to do so, we go forward. If not, sometimes you might want to reschedule. But things do happen. So Like I said, as I understand it, Logan Simmering sent a message. It was late yesterday, but sent a message saying, hey, something came up. Okay, something came up. As I understand it, Brian Gary did not send a message, and the NAACP was expecting him. And I can't tell you what happened. Gallon G. Gordon had a scheduling conflict and let the NAACP know yesterday. And Tom Brinkman, as I understand it, wasn't there and didn't contact them at all. So again, make that means whatever you think it means. I don't have any more information. I'm just giving you the facts without giving you anything more. Those are just the facts as I had them. I can't tell you. Now, what I would hope is that because the NAACP is going to do, I think they've got 6 forums because there's so many people, that they'll be able to squeeze some of those people in on another forum. That's what I would hope. My ego has nothing to do with it. In no way do I think it has anything to do with me as the moderator. Ain't nobody scared to do nothing when I'm the moderator. All you got to do is answer the questions. So I think it had more to do with their own personal decisions and just humans being humans. Things happen. It happens that way, but the show goes on. And Black Russia said, well, he feels like those candidates not going to win. I can't say that. I don't ish on nobody's anytime you got a chance to be in a race, you got a chance to be in a race, and we could be looking at future leadership. So let's say they don't win in November. Hell, they might be back in 2 years. So we can get an advance insight as to who they are. We never know. But let me go to the phones. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Hey, Nathan, it's Nicole. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Nicole. Welcome.
I just wanted to give a little bit more insight with candidates and the few that were able to participate or did participate. Well, one, that particular race was a juggle from the beginning because originally we had Charlie Winburn to be in that list. And then once we got the news that he's left, that changed that whole order. Then we had Tom Brinkman, I guess his name is Junior, and Tierra Powell, who did participate last night. Both of those was on a bubble, literally until like 24 hours prior, because it was a decision that had to be made by the Secretary of State if their signatures were even approved. And so I had them on the slate, and then it was like, well, we don't know just yet, so don't put them on there. So with that, we only had 3 candidates, which was the Brian Gary, Logan Simmering, and the Rob Harris. And so we were like, on other forums, we have almost 6 to 7 people. We need to like shuffle this around because at least the more people we have, the less questions we can ask and less time we could give them to speak. So we had asked Galen Gordon if he could switch his days. And, he said right away, and this was like less than 48 hours before it was showtime. But after checking his schedule, he thought we said Thursday and not Wednesday. And he was like, actually, I have something going on, so I can't. And so, it was fine. But he gave us notice. And then for one, we changed his original day just to accommodate, possibly not even having a lot of candidates on that first day as originally expected. The decision came down from the Secretary of State that they would be approved. So everything ended up happening okay after all. Mrs. Powell showed up. Tom Brinkman, he may have some issues, because it would have been the same drill. And keep in mind, this is the individual who tried to roll out House Bill 387, which, from my understanding, is on hold. But that's like, he's a state representative right now, so he's already in the state house making some of the extremists anti-voter laws that can be made trying to completely eliminate mail-in votes, and those drop boxes, trying to eliminate them completely. So, but I think he has a lot of Republicans that don't even agree with that. So right now, that House bill is like on ice. We still got House Bill 294 to worry about, which is just as bad. But I digress on that part. Brian Gary, he had actually, messaged earlier that day, like, he needed the contact information, and we said we would get that out later in the day, and we sent that out. And so from there, we had all expectations for him to show up. I checked my voicemail, checked my phone. I left my personal cell for people to contact me if they had any issues, and plus, my other coordinator, his email and whatnot, and no one received anything, and we even sent him an additional email just to make sure that he got the link, the stream to get into the forum, and nothing. And then David even looked up and saw him doing a Facebook Live, strolling, walking at the park. So clearly that let us know, he made his decision. He's doing something else. So there won't be another opportunity for Mr. Gary. Definitely no opportunity for Mr. Brinkman. They made their decisions. They just wasn't going to show to their forum. People that had provided a reasonable amount of time and an excuse for not being there will attempt to accommodate, but keeping in mind the slates that we have going forward are already full. I'm not trying to have 9 and 10 candidates on one forum. So hopefully, everyone has checked their schedules, and it will work to their advantage at this point. Because the further we get into this, the less opportunity they'll have to do this. And to be on our platform is big. I would dare to say our forums are important and as big as those that are televised by network news, because we get the numbers, we ask the tough questions, and this organization, the name in itself, is widely respected. And so people can make the decision that they won't show, but it's going to hurt them more than it hurt us. This is an opportunity for them to have a platform so more people can hear them and learn about them. It doesn't hurt us one way or the other. It only hurts themselves. And it only gives the candidates that do participate a greater opportunity to speak on their platform. And just like, recently we had our state conference in Columbus. We all had to go up there and be a part of that, the officers with the NAACP. And guess who shows up there to speak at our WIN luncheon is Mayor Cranley, right? And, he's giving his speech and his spiel to run for governor, and a female, contender that's running for governor was there, and she did her spiel. And to hear him, you would have thought that he has a great relationship with the Cincinnati NAACP. I mean, he was name dropping, like just trying to make this big. And me and Joe looked at each other like, really? You know what I'm saying? And the people at our table, we had to let them know, like, we had a forum and he declined. We literally had to pressure him to come to our forum because he originally declined, and the pressure was so grand that he flipped and changed his mind. If y'all remember that, you know what I mean? I mean, it was just unbelievable how it was this whole idea that we have this great relationship and he reaches out to us and they don't. But see, these candidates, they'll try to use you like that if you're not careful when they're trying to seek higher office or whatever the situation is. But I don't even understand how some individuals will attempt to write us off or to think that we can be underestimated. That'll be your first mistake. No, we're not, and we represent the people, and so to decline us or to not come before us is to not come before this community that we represent. And that's a problem in itself. So in everything we asked, the questions, we took time, did the research. We're trying to stay relevant in respect of what these individuals will actually have to make decisions about. These will be our future legislators, you know what I mean, for the city. And so it's important that they are dealing with the things that are important to us, like the collaborative agreement refresh. That should not be something brand new to them. Understanding what's going on as it relates to the corruption task force, and if it's actually effective and what's being put into place and what should be taken out. They should read up on that. They should know about the mayor's veto power, you know, and how that strips away power from themselves. Affordable housing, what is the plan, if anything? Are you going to be one of these individuals like what we were talking about, that Elm Street project, and how they went ahead and approved another project, like 300 units is going to be like between $1,200 and $2,400 units. I don't know anybody, I mean, I'm sure, but for most people cannot afford that. And to go ahead and approve that, excuse me, without a single unit being in range or affordable, you done already, you know, pushed these people out. It's just like it's a continuation of what we say we are trying to fix. And the people on there, it was like a 4 to 5 votes, you know. So, but to know if these individuals, if you were on there, how you would have voted, that's important. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that let us know, like, people have to willfully want to change how they do things. If people are just going to go along to get along or do the same thing, then we're not going to get the change that we're looking for. We need change agents. That's who we want to elect. So the people that was on yesterday are absolutely viable, absolutely contenders, and could be part of the 9. We have to hear all of them, the ones that participate. And people are going to make some decisions. So to count them out and everything else, I think that's the wrong attitude. Wrong attitude to have, because all of them have a viable chance.
Hey, Nicole, let me ask you a quick question.
Win in this race.
Let me ask a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
When is the next forum? The next city council forum?
It's the 21st.
Right, that's what I thought. Somebody said tonight. It's not tonight, it's the 21st.
No. Yes, the 21st. And I think we're just doing one next week, and then the following week we have 2. I'm in my car right now, so I know one is on the 28th, and I want to say the 30th as well, coming up. And then we have one October the 5th, right before the mayoral, which is October the 6th. That's going to be back to back, like we had this week, a back to back one. And then the last one is going to be October the 12th.
Okay.
And so, you know, if people are just waiting for the big names and everything else, I mean, that's fine if you want to do that. But I have an interest in hearing them all, you know, because we do need, there will be new people that's elected, and who those new people are is important. And people have to collectively get a feel of who these individuals are and who will actually take the lead and do what is in the best interest of our community. That's what we should be looking for. So, but I appreciate and thank everybody, and thank you again. You know what I mean? The adjustments, the platform, like I said before, I don't know, you know, it could be other people doing other groups, you know, maybe I'm just in my bubble, but I don't really hear too much, you know, on it or the marketing for it. And I have to look for it and find it. When I do, you know, I'll be interested to see, you know, how they, you know, did it and laid it out. I heard some forums are actually inviting all of them at once, which I'm amazed how you do that. And talking to the candidates we had last night, they was like, yeah, we were only able to ask, like, they were only able to have like 3 and 4 questions. Like, okay, you know, we at least are able to ask up to 10 questions when we break it down like this, because it's a lot to know and a lot to understand and to grasp from these individuals. We be having more than that. The audience come in and they come in with floods of questions, and so it's just like, it's amazing. But the platform, the Sin Digital Media platform, I don't see anybody else beating it. And the layout, the professionalism of it all, I love it. Absolutely love it. So, excuse me, I need some water.
All right, Nicole, thank you for the call.
But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, most deaf. That's Nicole with the NAACP. So I don't know. I mean, maybe y'all want me to reach out to Brian Gary? I mean, I got his number here. I could call him during the break and just ask him directly, like, yo, bro, what happened? Oh, okay. On going back to the Western Hill situation, somebody wrote, it was an assistant coach who was aware of the whole thing going on when it happened. That's from students. I didn't post it in the show because the investigation is still going on. I have someone who works for Western Hills who told me that. So if that's the case, then blame the assistant. If that's the case, again, I have no information about it. But what y'all want me to reach out to Brian Gary and see why he didn't show up? That did happen. I forgot it. So when we was getting prepared, I think it was David, he went on Facebook and went to Brian Gary's Facebook page. And I guess within a short time frame, Brian Gary was like at the park or something like that. So matter of fact, let me go ahead and do that. What I do. Keeping it staying in with my personality. Let's go reach out. May or may not respond. He may or may not respond. Maybe he has something else going on. I don't know, but that seems very interesting. And I thought Brian Gary loved black folks. I'm texting him right now. You might hear me typing. Hold on. We'll see. All right. So I just sent a text message with all my broken and bad spelling because I'm doing it live on the air, which is not the best time to do it. You correct the spelling a little bit. And definitely want to spell people's name correctly when you send them a message. Okay, so I just sent him a message. We got a call. Let's take it. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, how you doing today, guy?
Doing well, guy. Welcome.
It's wonderful to hear. Hey, couple things. Deters, you got to respect his consistency. Because this is the same reaction he had when some rich white kids did this on the out-of-town trip, but it was a school event. This is the same reaction he had. Like, this ain't no damn crime. You know, this is just kids being kids. You know, chill out. You remember that story a couple years ago, about 5 years ago?
I don't.
It was like the Summit Country Day kids or the Cincinnati Country Day kids or maybe even 7. I don't remember, but it was like a rich white school. They had an issue out of town, but was a school event, tried to get, or something like that, and tried to get charges pressed. And, you know, he had a press conference and was like, he's like, me and my brothers do worse than this to each other today. I specifically remember that quote from the press conference. You know, so, I mean, and in reality, you know, black folks gave him rope and he could have took away the chair and didn't. You know, these kids, you know, we're always talking about how tough he is. You know, he ain't no fan. You know, black folks ain't fans of his. He could have just did a whole bunch of him real quick, but he didn't. But at the same time, I his language and rhetoric was a little bit disrespectful. The way he basically said as much ado about nothing. I mean, he could have used what was the quote? They used a ray gun when they could have used a pea shooter or whatever.
Yeah, they're using atomic
that type
bomb.
of stuff. Yeah, that type of stuff. And I thought he kind of went hard on the superintendent without mentioning that. But again, like we said last week when this story broke, Tatum had to go. It was inevitable that he had to go because of the recent negative press from the school district. But see, somebody mentioned this, but yeah, I was hazed. I put that on Facebook last week. I was hazed at West Side.
Were you?
Yeah, the same way. They try to take my clothes off, rub icy hot on me and Bengay, and start snapping me with towels and slapping me and stuff. Nobody knew about it. It stayed in the locker room. There were no camera phones back then either, but nobody knew about it. It stayed in the locker room until I took it out into the field. And I was like the best player in practice that day. Everybody who was there knows this story. It's not legendary, but it's kind of folklore with us. I was like the best player in practice. I was just giving people problems all practice. Tatum, now that I hear that he wasn't there, I'm even more convinced he had to go. Because if this happened before practice, you can't get you don't teach at the school, you can't get there in time, whatever. You're just not the man for that gig up there. And if it happened after practice, he's even more liable because you shouldn't leave until every kid's gone. Just as a matter of principle. Whether that's the district policy or not, some schools have that as a policy. And I just think that's a good policy that, you shouldn't leave until all the kids are gone anyway. Basically, this guy he's a victim of circumstance, and his bad decisions really cost him because of the circumstance. The Gabriel Taï settlement, the recent settlement, the recent bus story, CPS can't survive all these negative stories. Somebody had to go at some point. He's the fall guy for right now, at least on this level. So I don't feel sorry for him one bit. I don't feel sorry for him at all. And as a coach, I had a hazing incident. As a head coach, we talked about why it's inappropriate. Let's not do that. 3 things happen in the locker room. Racism, sexism, and homophobia. And that's what we kind of talked about that. Like, why it's inappropriate to do, especially in today's era. This was like 2011, 2012. So 10 years later, you could have easily talk with your guys before the season started. We don't do that. It's unacceptable. It's a different culture now. And also, you got the right to say no camera phones in the locker room. Because what's supposed to happen? What happens in the locker room is supposed to stay in the locker room. So he made all types of mistakes. He had to go. I keep hearing he's a good guy, this and that. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you handled this situation properly. You ill-equipped your team to deal with something like this. So that's all I got, B. I know you said you got a guest coming up.
What do you mean he ill-equipped his team to deal with something like this? He can't control all them kids.
Yes, he can. I just told you. You set rules and expectations before the season starts.
Yeah, but you said
do not bring camera phones in my locker room.
Wait a minute. You said when you was a head coach, you had a hazing incident. You couldn't control those kids when you was the coach.
How didn't I?
Because you
didn't get outside the locker room.
They did it anyway.
It didn't get outside. It didn't get outside of the locker room. There were camera phones in.
I'm just saying it still happened. So my question was, he can't control the actions of every single kid. Sometimes people do stuff that exceeds, is outside of your expectations.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't, because you couldn't.
Yes, you can.
Because you couldn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No,
it was like, wasn't nobody getting stripped. Wasn't nobody getting stripped.
But they still did something that you didn't appreciate
somebody, listen,
and you didn't want them to do. Isn't that correct?
somebody put shaving cream in the kid's shoe.
It don't
That's
matter.
what the
It was
hazing
still
was.
something that you had to talk
There's
to
a
him
difference
about,
between
and it was
pranks.
something.
There's a
Yeah, but we
difference.
ain't talking about the difference between the two pranks. We talking about whether
Yes,
a
we are.
coach can control everything that every single football player on the team does. I'm saying he cannot.
If your team respects you, you won't do that. They won't do that.
So your team didn't respect
If
you.
your team, that's a prank.
I'm just saying. Joe
That's
Deters
a
said
prank
this
what
was a
they were
prank.
doing. No, what they were doing was not a prank. That was damn sexual assault as far as I'm concerned, because you tried to strip his clothes off.
No, it wasn't. Because Joe Deters says it
Yes,
wasn't. He says there's no charges, so it was no sexual assault. He said it was hazing. He broke it down to Jason.
But Joe Deters is the same guy.
The question
Joe
is,
Deters,
do we expect for a head football coach of a high school team to be able to control the actions of every single member of his team? I don't think that's possible.
Joe Deters is the same guy who gave, in your words, a lackluster performance prosecution of Ray Tinding.
That's irrelevant to the question, sir.
It's very relevant. Do you trust him or not? You're doing the same thing you're doing with the vaccine and the government.
Sir.
Do you trust him or not?
My question has nothing to do with Joe Deters. My question is about you. You just said that the coach got to go because the kids did something. They did something that was outside of what
you're trying to change the narrative.
Simple as that. No, you're trying to change the narrative. No,
because you can't decide whether you like Joe Deters or not.
That's not the issue.
Either you trust his judgment or not. I don't trust his judgment. I said this was a bad call.
Can control the actions of every member of the football team just like you couldn't. Period.
You can't control everybody because you're not with them, but at the same time, you can set expectations.
Man, there's parents that can't control what their kids do. Kids go out there and do things that's outside the expectations of what they taught by their parents. How is a coach supposed to control everything that kids do? Ridiculous, sir. Anything else?
Because football is a privilege. I don't have to have you on my team as a parent. I've got to have you in his house till you're 18.
Right. And
what the hell are you talking about? You come up with these whack scenarios to use as analogies, and they never work.
It's very relevant. I'm hitting a target.
They never freaking work.
You got parents that got children that they raise, children that love and respect them, that go outside the household and do dumb-ish that their parents told them not to do. How are we going to expect a coach to control the actions of, 54 kids?
The kids seen the dumb shit that their parents do.
Not always.
So that's why they did it.
Not always. That's not true.
So that's why they do it. Oh, my God. Everything's a damn qualifier with you. What's the point of you bringing up all this stuff for me to answer if every time I answer it, you extend the goal line?
Easy. Thank you for the call. You all emotional, man. I made my point. I appreciate you. Let me do it for you. Thank you for the call. You're all emotional. Keep your emotions in check, sir. We ain't got time for all of that. What you just said something ridiculous. So this coach is responsible for the personal actions. I mean, on some levels, we get it, but every kid on the team is going to do exactly, man, where they do that. It's kids that don't listen to what their parents tell them to do. You got plenty of parents that's like, look, do this, do that. Don't do that. Kids go out and do the exact same their parents told them not to do. But we expect a coach to have absolute control over the actions of all these kids. I think that's unrealistic. And you couldn't even do it when you was a coach, but that's neither here nor there. Let me move on. As I said, we got Darrick Dansby. Matter of fact, he's backstage. Can you hear me, Darrick? Give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up, you can hear me? Yeah, he can hear me. You got Darrick Dansby. Let me bring him on, folks. What's up, Darrick? How you doing, sir?
Good morning, Nathan. Good morning, Choppers. It's my esteemed pleasure to be here, to be on your show. You know, I've been listening and checking you out for a long time, man. So I'm very happy for you, and congratulations to you on your success, sir.
Oh, for sure. So now, not the best transition, but I know we said 8:30, so I want to have it at 8:30.
All good. I mean, you know, I know Coach Tatum, and he's a good brother. He really is. And
really,
my hearts and prayers go out to Coach Tatum, as well as the players that were involved in that incident.
Okay. Did not know that. But let's get to the business at hand. Darrick, I mean, you're the new president of the Charter Committee of Cincinnati. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I want to hear all about what that means. But for folks who don't know you, just tell us a little about yourself. Are you from Cincinnati? Are you born and raised here? What high school did you go to?
I am not a Cincinnatian. I am originally from Mansfield, Ohio. I came to Cincinnati to go to the University of Cincinnati. While I was at UC, I studied history and eventually went back, got my master's in education. But while I was there, I was actively involved in a lot of student activities, student government, United Black Association. I was also actively involved in a community service or a community engagement um, program called the Uptown Youth Initiative, where I work directly with youth in the 6 surrounding neighborhoods around Clifton, and that really propelled me to start working more in the community. I left there, went to United Way. I was at the United Way for 5, 6 years, where I was doing volunteer coordination, helping volunteers get on boards, helping volunteers get on committees. Then from there, I was executive director of Smart Money Community Services. At Smart Money, we provided financial literacy training, as well as budgeting, savings, business classes, home ownership classes. We even have a match savings program where we match $2 for every dollar individuals saved. Um, then after that, I was got more actively engaged in planning. I've worked with Liz Bloom, and we did the Over the Rhine Planning Steering Committee. I was the director of economic development for that plan, and began to slowly get involved with understanding Cincinnati politics. I saw young Chris Smitherman um, run for city council first time out the gate and win as a charterite. Then I saw a really good friend of mine, young sister we all know very well. I call her the Honorable Yvette Simpson now because she's done such great work for this city. I saw her run as a charterite, her first time out the gate. And, I got more engaged in understanding that, as a registered Democrat myself, that when it comes to Cincinnati politics, um, there's no Democrat, there's no Republican way to fill a pothole. There's no Republican, no Democratic way to pick up your trash on time or to provide other city services effectively and efficiently. That, you know, regardless of where you stand politically, if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, we all have common issues. We all have common problems that we see in city government and collaborating with the county, with how we deliver and impact um, dollars for development projects, and that it's you should not be one size fits all. You don't want to be that person that only goes in the ballot box and only votes for Republicans or only votes for Democrats. You want to be that person that's educated, that knows what's going on with charter amendments, with policies, with procedures, and vote for candidates who you think best fit your street, best fit your neighborhood, your block, your community. And I became president of the charter committee about a month ago, and I'm excited to be here. We've got 10 endorsed candidates that we are pushing forward for the November 2nd election, and I'm excited and looking forward to the candidates and learning more, and you and your audience and others in the city getting to learn more about them, because I think when you learn more about them, I think they're going to turn your head.
So tell us about the Charter Committee. What's the history of the Charter Committee? What does that mean? What do they stand for? And, the majority of my audience is Black folks. So what does that mean for Black folks?
Well, if you know Marion Spencer, if you know Ted Berry, you know the Charter Committee. I mentioned Yvette. I mentioned Chris Smitherman started out as a charter right as well. But the charter rights were founded 97 years ago because the city, ironically, as a history major, a historian, it's kind of like my hobby now. Ironically, 100 years ago, we had a city council that was corrupt. We had a mayor and city council that was doing backdoor deals in bars and in saloons, and they weren't engaged with the regular Cincinnati public. So the Charter Committee was formed to bring forth a new form of government that would bring accountability, transparency, and equitability to City Hall. And for the past, 90 some years, we've been able to do that. Here recently, we've seen a number of different changes that have happened that have moved us away from our original city charter, which is why we're back to where we are right now. And unfortunately, these past few years has been really, really tough for Cincinnatians and for Cincinnati politics. I've been involved and worked for 3CDC. I worked for housing in Price Hill Will and I'm also a full-time real estate agent and an investor. So over the past 10 years, we've seen this great boom economically in our region, but yet our politics has been a really, really sore spot for us. It's been a black eye on our city. When what happened with Tamaya and PG and Jeff, and it hurt my heart. And I got calls and texts from people all over the country like, man, what's going on in Cincinnati? What's going on in Cincinnati? And what happened at City Hall can never happen again. We've got to put people in place that are going to bring City Hall back to where it used to be and where it needs to be. So the Charter Committee is a committee that believes in good government. So our candidates are all endorsed because they believe in good government. They believe in equitability. They believe in transparency. We should be engaging with our community. We should know what people want in our city elected officials. We should hold our elected officials accountable. We should hold our city staff accountable, our administration. And that is really kind of the real baseline of where we believe that our principles are as a committee. We in the past have we've endorsed Democrats, we've endorsed Republicans, we've endorsed people who are only just charter rights. So it doesn't matter what or where people stand on from a political party sense. We stand on where people stand on the issues that are currently impacting our city. And we believe that the people that we endorse are the best people to put on city council or in the judicial seat or in school board that will bring good government back to Cincinnati.
Speaking with Darrick Dansby, he's the president of the Charter Committee of Cincinnati. You open to take some questions from the audience? I see people are putting questions in there.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
As long as I can drink coffee at the same time. Is that cool?
Yeah, go right ahead. Well, okay, so you said, and I know this to be a fact, that you got people that would probably consider themselves to be Democrats. You've got endorsed Republicans who also have gotten the charter endorsement. So to get the charter endorsement, what are the issues or positions that one has to either take or demonstrate that they believe in order to get the charter endorsement?
Well, we have an issues and endorsements committee that meets regularly, and we send out questionnaires just like every other party union that does for these particular types of endorsements. And our topics are basically formed around the principles that I spoke on of good government, equitability, accountability, transparency, and some others. But then we also ask questions relevant to where we are right now politically, things that are going on. Say with the school board, how do you plan to, impact or solve the sorter problem? How do you plan to deal with COVID? How do you plan to deal with Laura Mitchell leaving, and how are you going to handle that replacement? So, we deal with things kind of not only where you stand philosophically, but where you stand on the current issues that City Hall, school board, or in a judicial race that people are dealing with. We open it up to everyone who feels like they would want a charter endorsement, and we try to go through as many candidates as we possibly can.
Okay. To the audience, Deborah wants to know, how do you feel about 3CDC?
3CDC has done an incredible job. 3CDC has really revolutionized and really brought forth some economic development in Over the Rhine. And I now see that development happening throughout our city. So 3CDC has been positive. The only drawback is that we don't have 3CDCs in every neighborhood, or we don't have a 3CDC to help the broader Cincinnati community. That's been the biggest issue. And because of that void, the Port Authority of Cincinnati has basically become the 3CDC for the other 50 neighborhoods outside of downtown, the Banks, and Over the Rhine. That's been the biggest issue. You've got some neighborhoods like Price Hill. You've got some neighborhoods like Avondale Development Corp that have their own CDCs, but they don't have as large of a financial support that 3CDC has. They have a very, very unique lending pool that allows them to do things that other neighborhoods just don't have a chance to do. And it's disappointing because you wish that all the other 50 neighborhoods had that opportunity as well. And that's something that, we should try to work towards.
That the issue of displacement and gentrification has come up. I wonder from your position, because I know you're a realtor, you just spoke finally about 3CDC. Do you see that as a problem? What does the charter have an official position on that? Is that an issue for you? How do you view those issues? Displacement, gentrification.
Affordable housing is an issue not just for the charter committee, but also for another organization that I am president-elect for, which is the Greater Cincinnati Realtors Association, which is a group made up of African-American real estate agents, brokers, lenders, inspectors, appraisers, investors, you name it. It's unfortunate that we are in this state right now where we has this huge housing boom. Property rates are skyrocketing. And it's unfortunate that people who have lived in these neighborhoods for decades, that they're living in houses that passed down from their mom and their dad. They can't, if they sell their house, they can't afford to stay in the neighborhood. And that's a problem. And that's something that we need to deal with. And unfortunately, our city council, our folks in City Hall over the past 8+ years or so have watched this boom happen and have done absolutely nothing to address it. The issue 3, affordable housing charter amendment that came up this past spring, we did not support that, not because we didn't support affordable housing, but we did not support how that amendment was written and how that amendment would take, I think, close to $50 million out of our city budget right off the top before anything else happened. We didn't feel like that was good government, so we did not support it. But yes, we wholeheartedly support affordable housing, and all of the 8 candidates for city council that we endorsed, they wholeheartedly support finding a plan and a pathway to ensuring that we have affordable housing in all neighborhoods.
Toya has a question. She wants to know, please ask him as a historian, the rationale for allowing the probate judge to appoint council seats left vacant before the expiration of the term. Is this to have someone disconnected from council in theory? Is this a charter provision that needs to be revised in your opinion?
Yes, absolutely. We're about good government. We're about transparency. So anytime you take a seat away and it's given to someone who was not duly elected by the people, we feel like the people should have some form of a say-so in that. So we want somehow, some way to figure out at the end of this cycle, we bring on a new city council to find a solution to that. We have some ideas around that in the charter reform packages that we have done. And at some point in time, we could definitely talk about that some more.
Well, it begs the question, are there any other charter provisions that you think needs to be revised?
I think first and foremost, the pocket veto that the mayor has is doing a disservice to all citizens of Cincinnati. And if you're not familiar with the pocket veto, this current mayor and the mayor before him both used it. So it's not like I'm talking about Cranley or in particular, but our mayor has the easy ability to bury legislation, to bury ordinances in committee. He can put something, because he's in charge of the agenda for council, he can bury an ordinance, and if he doesn't agree with it, he can bury it in committee, and it'll never show up for vote within city council. And then if it does go through the committee, he may not even put it on the council agenda. I've talked to council members who have put things up for ordinance. It did in February, March, and they're finally now just getting to the forefront. That's a problem. We have to do something about that. The pocket veto has to go immediately. Secondly, our city manager, on the original form of government that the charter committee established, our city government reported to city council. The way it's currently constructed, the city manager reports to the mayor. So if something comes to the administration, if council wants to put something in place and they want the city manager and the administration to handle and to manage that process, because the city manager doesn't work for city council, he works for the mayor. He's going to do, what do you think? He's going to do what the mayor tells him to do. So if a councilman comes to something that they want to do to help the community right now, because this is why I was elected, this is why I was put here, And then the city manager can just say, oh, I ain't doing that. Mr. Mayor wants me to work on this development deal, so I'm going to do that. City council doesn't evaluate the city manager. City council in this past few months ago, our city manager got a raise without even getting council approval. There was never even a vote. There was never even a discussion. That can't happen, Nathan. The city manager is there on our behalf to work for the people, to manage the administration. City council should work more like a board, and the mayor should be the chairman of that board. But city council is responsible for managing the city manager, and we need to put that back in place.
Just two last questions, and I'll let you go. I appreciate the time this morning, Darrick. One, what is your vision? What's your vision for the Charter Committee in Cincinnati? And then secondly, where can people go to read the slate? Because I know you've got endorsed school board council, or school board members, judges. And you had you can also talk about the news, the press conference from yesterday, and then also city council members.
Yeah, so yesterday we endorsed Elizabeth Ty for municipal judge for Hamilton County. We're excited to do that. She is a fantastic candidate for judge. She has a wide and depth experience, not only as a prosecutor, but also as a public defender, which we believe will make her an excellent judge. We've also got Galen Gordon. I know there was some name issues I heard a little earlier. We have Galen G. Gordon running for city council. He's a West End guy. We've got Jim Tarbell, longtime city council member, Kevin Flynn. We all know the name Kevin Flynn. We've also got Steve Gooden, Republican endorsed candidate, as well as Liz Keating, Republican endorsed candidate. We've also got the Prince of Pleasant Ridge, Mr. Bill Frost. We also have Miss Jackie Frondorf, who's on a West Sider. And last but definitely not least, we've got Mr. John Williams. So we've got a diverse group of folks. And as I continue to, get more involved and more entrenched in this role, because like I said, I was really thrown in the hot grease, brother. I've only been in here about a month, so I'm still getting my footing together. But as I continue to talk to the citizens of Cincinnati and folks like yourselves and the choppers, I realize more than ever that the city of Cincinnati needs the charter committee now more than ever. What's happened these past few years has been concerning, and we need to get back to good government. So I'm looking to grow and expand the charter committee. I want us to get younger. I want us to be more diverse. I want us to continue to stay on issues that ensure that we have good government. And I want to make sure that we're holding our public officials accountable. So if you or anyone else out there in the chop shop are interested in wanting to learn more about the Charter Committee, please go to Charter Committee. Just Google us, you'll find us. Chartercommittee.org, I believe, is our website. But more importantly, I want to make sure that everyone knows that if you are not registered to vote, the last day to register to vote is October the 4th. On October the 5th, we will begin voting. And that voting period will end on November the 2nd, which is election day, at 7:30. So please go out and vote. If you are going out to vote, make sure you register. Help someone get registered. You can go to the Hamilton County Board of Election page, check your registration, make sure you're going to the right precinct. Make sure you invite a family member to register to vote, one of your friends, your homeboy, one of your girls. Ask them if they're registered to vote. If they're not, encourage them to get registered to vote soon, because time is running out. And in order for us to be engaged and to be involved in politics and in what's going on in City Hall and how your tax dollars are being used, you've got all this money coming from Biden in the federal government that's coming down from COVID. You want to have a say-so in how those dollars are distributed, regardless of how you feel, Democrat, Republican, whatever. All politics are local. When you look at politics and how it really impacts you, it impacts you on a local level more than it impacts you on a national level. So knowing what the current issues in our city is sometimes much larger than knowing the issues on the national scale, because those issues on a local level, they impact you on a day-to-day basis. So I thank you, Nathan, for the time and the opportunity. And I hope I can come back again and talk some more.
Oh, for sure.
And let's keep this moving. And hello to the Chop Shop. And please get registered to vote. And if you are registered to vote, go out and vote.
Hey, Darrick, one quick real question. The response can be yes or no. But the anti-corruption charter amendment, does the charter committee support that?
We will be making a position on that very, very soon.
Okay. All right. Darrick, thanks for your time, brother. Wish you the best, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, brother. Have a good day, y'all.
Most deaf. So again, I mean, I agree with what he said. Politics is local. We need to have an understanding of all of the players here, everybody, and what they can bring to the table. I don't want to exclude the Democrats. I don't want to exclude the Republicans. I don't want to exclude the independents. I don't want to exclude the charter, right? Because for us in particular, things, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I think that the way that the Black community should look at it is that we have permanent interest, but not permanent allies. We have a permanent interest, just like the U.S. foreign policy. United States has long-term goals, and whoever fits into those goals to help achieve them is who the government works with. We should be interacting the same way, and we should be knowledgeable about all of the options that are out there. So we'll leave it like that. Let me take a quick break. I got another guest lined up to give us a call here. We'll take a quick pause and get a word in from our sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by my friends over at renewcommunitychurch.org. They got a brand new ebook that's available for you to download this morning. And they've created a whole new series that's designed to inspire you. They want you to live your best life. Check this out. I'll be right back.
The words for today are to grow a better business. It takes 60 seconds for the universe, through the invisible law of attraction, to be fully activated in your life. God's invisible law of attraction is available to you today because you are just 60 seconds away from growing a better business. Take the next 60 seconds and grow a better business by telling a business story for 60 seconds 3 times a day for 21 days. Why 21 days? Because that's how long it will take to change your life. Now say this better business story out loud 3 times a day. It is my divine and human right as an entrepreneur to grow and prosper my business so that I can bless others. My business is growing, expanding, increasing in revenue and profits today. For a free ebook, visit renewcommunitychurch.org.
I ran away from heartbreak. Got nothing in return for my pain. I never thought I'd be so empty, so alone and afraid. Wasn't looking for a lover. Nobody understood where I've been. Guess I thought I needed more time to protect my love from potential offense. So I in you and you, but I so you and I'm not surprised by what I found. Cause I know I needed something different, and it had to be you. Out the blue, somebody who would listen, and it had to be you. Out of all the people to reply, my love couldn't be just anyone. But baby, it had to be you. I didn't seem to notice that you were checking for me. We were just friends, but we started building trust, and my fragile heart started to bend. Yeah, I should have paid attention. You would have been the obvious choice. But I needed time to see clearly, dig deep and cut through the noise. So I right, then you and you. But I
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Nathan Ivey with you. As always, my pleasure to be with you. Just got a message from somebody saying that they have some issues picking up the show on Facebook, which is interesting because we got so many folks in here that are on Facebook right now. Not sure. You know, this stuff is far from a perfect science. I want to say thanks to Brother Darrick Dansby coming in. He's the new president of the Charter Committee of Cincinnati, and we should know. We should know. See, number one, education, information is power. So we should know all the options, who everybody is, who are the players, who are the candidates, what are they staying for. So we cannot be locked into a box. That's what we've been doing that for too long. So let's see. Let's see. I mean, I'm not telling you who to vote for. You know, that's not my style. I just present the information. You make your own decision up as to who you think is the best. And I think it's interesting. You got a charter committee, and then they got Democrats and Republicans are all together under one banner. So, you know, he gave you the information. Check it out for yourself. Make your own decision. Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that, Dante. 37 minutes ago, I sent a message to Brian Gary. I'm not sure if he's seen it yet. Still trying to figure out why he wasn't at the NAACP forum last night. He told the NAACP he'd be there. You know, if I'm a candidate, man, I need all the opportunities and all the help I can get. But we shall see. We shall see. Angela writes, yes, we need more voter engagement and information as much as possible. I ain't excluding no, but like I told you, I'm not against Republicans. I'm not if there's a Republican that makes sense, I'll give them my ear. I'll consider it. I'm not against a charter a committee, someone who's endorsed by the charter committee. I'm not against an independent. I'm not against a Democrat. It depends on the individual and what they've demonstrated to me and what I think that they will actually do. That's what it all depends on. So we shall see. We shall see. Dale Rice, thank you for coming. Absolutely. Kruther Rice, good interview, Nate. I'm going to do more of that. I want to focus more and more on what's happening here locally. I'll still mix in the national stuff. You know that because it's interesting. And what happens on the national and statewide level. But I want to make sure that we have a good handle on what's happening here locally because we're the choppers. And we should know more than anybody else. So if you got ideas as to who you think might make a good guest, I'm interested. Just hit me with a direct message. That is direct message is the best way because I'll get it. I'll see it. If you put it in the chat, that's cool too. But there's so many messages on depending on the morning and the flow of the conversation that sometimes I just quite honestly miss it. And I'm just not going to be able to get, you know, what you're trying to offer us. Sister V writes, she's in the chop shop. Good morning, too. She writes morning choppers. Ray writes, can you say that again for the people in the back? It's not necessary about what party you're in. Oh, absolutely. What's up, Mila J? Based on the limited facts that we know, was this really worth some kids being in the criminal justice system? Yes, the school should handle some type of discipline. You talking about the West Side situation? Yeah, that was the cover story for today. That's how we started everything, talking about the comments of Joe Deters, and it's just so much to unpack right there. He basically, there's the quotes that's attributed to him. He said the CPS used an atomic bomb when they could have used a pea shooter, and it's idiotic. Is he right? Did Armand Tatum deserve to be fired? And I believe that Mr. Tatum is the former coach, head football coach at West High. And there is a petition that I haven't seen a petition, but as I understand it, is circulating, and thousands of people have signed on to it saying that they support them, and he was actually good for everybody. And so it begs the question, then why the CPS can him? Was it a knee-jerk reaction? Because this is knee-jerk reactionary city, Cincinnati, Ohio. Was it? I don't know. You know me, I deal with the facts. I'll give you some straight opinion when I think is necessary, but in this case, I want to deal with the facts as they are. I don't know. And I asked you, you know, is Joe Deters playing this down too much? Is it no big deal? Well, that's easy to say when it's somebody else's child. When it's your child, it's the most important thing in the world, isn't it? It's the most, if that's your baby, your grandson, your nieces, nephews, and them, you got a major problem. And I have to be honest with you, if it's my child, if my son comes home and said, Dad, this happened today, but it's no big deal. I mean, yeah, I was a little bit in the moment, but everybody goes through it. I'm still reaching out to the coach because I want to make sure this not going to happen in the future. What else can happen? See, when you're a parent and something happens, parents are always already on high alert when they send their kids to schools these days. COVID, mass shootings, Karens and Darrens masquerading as teachers and administrators, bullying. You already on high alert. You already, when you're a parent, your nerves don't never go down. You know what I'm saying? That's why empty nesters be dancing around, because at least there's a release on some type of that day-to-day sort of like stress of your kids being in high school. Then of course they're going to college. But we were all in high school. Depending on who you were in high school, you got that business. Fame called in and told a story about how he got hazed and then went out and did something great on the practice field. So, we already know. And if that's your child, if it's me, my number one question is, what about tomorrow? What happens next? Can I sleep good at night? Me and the wife will be on pins and needles, trying to make sure everything's okay. So I don't want to play it down too much. I don't want to play it down too much, and I don't want to make it too big of a deal. Glenn writes, Joe Deters is the number one Republican in Cincinnati. See my point? F the GOP and John Wayne. I understand. Rachel writes, why is Deters concerned about what CPS is doing? He should have used the atomic bomb on Tensing, but he chose a peace shooter. Exactly. I made the same point, Rachel. What he needs to be doing is making sure he got top flight prosecutors, because he and his team of prosecutors did a terrible job. And local media don't talk about that enough. Local media just lets him off. I'm telling you, I was the moderator for that Hamilton County prosecutor forum. It was between Joe Deters and Fanon Ruckers. Now, we know Joe Deters ended up winning. And as a part of my preparation, I had come up with several ways to address that. And I come up with several ways to address it, because these political types, like a man like Joe Deters, I was amazed that he didn't show up. Because from the outside looking in, these are smart, intelligent people. They ain't really worried about no questions. But it's not necessarily the question. It's that follow-up. It's that follow-up that gets him. And I believe that I was prepared, because I just want to hear his thoughts. I don't believe in a gotcha moment. I never prepare for a gotcha moment. I've been accused of doing gotcha radio, but I don't do gotcha radio. I just ask you a question and try to get straight to it. You answer the way you answer. I don't really believe in that stuff. When you try doing like that, you end up messing yourself up, in my opinion. Iris writes, no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent interests. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the way to be. That's the way to be. You have an agenda, you have goals, you got a vision, and whoever helps you reach that is whoever helps you reach that, period. That's what the U.S. foreign policy does. When it was advantageous for us to use Saddam Hussein against Iran, we gave him weapons. And when it was advantageous for us to topple Saddam Hussein, we toppled Saddam Hussein. That's just the way the world works. So if it's good for the U.S. foreign policy, and it gets us in trouble a lot, 100 years of a regime change has not been good for our world standing in some cases. But why shouldn't we as a community adopt this? Why shouldn't we adopt the same posture? That's my attitude. What about you? What about you? 513-873-7134. Willie writes, what's up, Willie? Problem is, he is the head coach. CPS is dealing with the aftermath of the Gable Taye situation. They took no chances to be sued again. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. And you got a brand new superintendent. I've heard some things about her, all good. So maybe she's like, you know what? I ain't even on that. We're going to go ahead. We're going to let people know right here, right now, zero tolerance. Is that fair? You tell me. You tell me. Deborah writes, Joe Deters is evil. You mean like in a biblical sense, Deborah? I don't know. I can't say that. I've never met the man. I've never had a personal conversation with him. I met a lot of people who have, and they all swear that he's a great guy. And I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. If I was describing Joe Deters, I don't think I would use the word evil, but that's just me. That's just me. Russell writes, we? Glenn writes, so right now the Republican Party is our version of the Taliban, question mark. Get to the choppers. Like the Afghans are at CVG running down the runway. Y'all funny. Glenn writes, back in my day, hazing was the freshmen's running scout team offense against a starting defense full of seniors. Nobody wanted to play running back. Is that right? That would be tough. that would be tough. Terrence says people are completely missing the point. Well, help us see the point a little better then, brother. Maybe we are. I don't know. What do you think about the charter committee of Cincinnati? What do you think about what Darrick Dansby had to say? I'd like to get your thoughts about it. Grasson Rice called him. I don't want to cold call a guy on the air, so I'm not going to do that. Okay. I'm not going to do that. I sent him a text message on Facebook. I'm sure he's received it or he'll receive it later. If not today, then maybe tomorrow we'll catch up with him. You know what I'm saying? It's not the biggest issue to me. Really, that's a lost opportunity for him. You know, that's on him. That's what he decides he wants to do. Okay. It's all on you. I'm not sure, TNT, I didn't see this. Y'all see the rapper Scarface received a kidney from his son after COVID caused irreparable damage. Did y'all see this? Is this for real? Damn, yo. I know he does a podcast with Willie D. It's called the Ghetto Boys Reloaded podcast, I think it is. I'm hip to a lot of podcasts. And the brother looks a little bit sickly on there. I didn't know what was going on with him, man. But if this is in fact true, I'm just saying to all my peoples out here, take this COVID issue seriously. I'm not saying nothing about the vaccine. I'm saying take COVID seriously. Angela writes, I just told you he was on the Wasson Trail yesterday afternoon wearing his green council t-shirt and chatting on his phone. You know, it's funny because that's what David Whitehead said. As we were preparing yesterday, we got started about 6 p.m. So it was somewhere in the last 20 minutes. David went to his Facebook page and I could hear it in the background. And Brian Gary was like, yeah, guys, I'm out here. I don't remember exactly what he said. And we all sort of chuckled about it because, like I said, the show goes on. You know, Brian Gary's running for city council, not me. I don't need to convince anybody about my viability as a candidate. He needs to do that. And he ain't going to get voted without black folks. It ain't going to happen. So, again, maybe he forgot. I don't know. But we'll see. I mean, to my knowledge, Brian Gary and I have a pretty cool, we decent, we cordial, we always speak when we see one another. I think favorably of him. I have nothing negative to say about him. He appears to be out here trying to do good. I'm just curious. I'd love to hear his thought process as to why he sort of skirted the form last night. But as you heard from TNT, there will be no more invites. You know, you had your shot. It is what it is. And part of that is just the logistics of it. You know, don't have a lot of space with so many candidates. So, oops, my bad. We'll catch you another time. It is what it is. Deborah writes, yes, please call him. I'm very disappointed he did not show up. Nevertheless, I appreciate the two candidates who did. I want to hear all the candidates before I vote, Nate. I thought you did an excellent job last night. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to call the man cold. I won't cold call him, but I will text him. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Nate. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Is this Brother Terrence?
Yes, it is. How you been doing?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. You know, licking my wounds and keeping it pushing, man. You know, adapting to the ever-changing market with COVID resurging again and, you know, staying active, you know, just listening to your show. And, you know, one thing I will say first and foremost is that I know Armand Tatum. You know, I actually, a few years ago when I was still in the military, was invited to be a part of his coaching staff. And I was active duty recruiter, you know, show up in my uniform and then, you know, quickly change as quick as I can to get to practice. I was responsible for the receivers and the defensive backs. You know, I had a bunch of time as a youth football coach, you know, and actually being president of, you know, a youth football organization here where I was in charge of pretty much everything that went on with from K1 to 6th grade. So I will say this, you know, one of the things that actually led for me to leave the program is because I was very rigid with those kids. Now, And again, this is just my personal experience actually working with Tatum at West High for the time that I was there. And he was, there to restart the program, bring new life into the program, and not to speak ill about the kids and their plight there. The kids had some troubles that they were dealing with. I even remember, if I'm not mistaken, a kid that was a junior that was working to support his family. There was a kid, or a student, I should say, not a kid, but a student that had a kid. So these guys had different complex situations going on in their lives, okay? Now, my thing as a coach, one thing I implemented is that when they would drop a easy pass, they had to drop and do push-ups, form of discipline. You don't drop the ball, you drop the ball, you got to do push-ups. You owe your team. I had, very rigid ways, because that's the construct to me that those young men needed at the time. They needed a sense of discipline, sense of pride. One of the ways that we, as coaches, or as I, defensive backs and receivers coach, was implementing those things to those kids was to, have certain tenets that they had to follow. And Coach Tatum, I remember, distinctly pulled me to the side, and he said, that's not what these kids need right now. And we had a fundamental disagreement about what those kids needed in their lives. And for me, again, rigid forms of discipline, try to redirect some of the trajectories going on with these kids. And again, our way of doing that was through football. It's unfortunate what happened up there at West High. Yes, we all know the locker room stories of, years past. But here's the thing. And again, I implemented the same, tenets as part of my program. If your grades were bad, I don't care how good of a kid you are. If your grades are bad, you can't play. If you have behavior problems that your mom come to me and tell me, hey, he acted like a jerk at school, oh, you'll be a track star for that day. You're not playing football. Those are the ways and the tools that we use to implement discipline to these young men here. Now, kids, yes, will be kids, but we got to understand the nature and the climate that, Tatum's in. The CPS just got done dealing with the Gabriel Taye situation. Say, for instance, this kid goes off and, has, God forbid, something happens or he harms himself because of the humiliation that he might experience. That's enough to where the district is liable for those kids. We may not want to look at it that way, but it is. Because as you heard a lot of your listeners say, or some, put out in the post, if it was my kid, it would be hell to pay. And it would be hell to pay. And the last thing I'll say is this. We can say that it's not up to the coach to be responsible for his students because they're students. But we have the same principles of accountability that we expect for a police chief. Yes, in certain programs, if your discipline is not on point, you're not going to play. Some coaches come with a certain climate, culture, and tradition that, to me, and it does, it distinguishes the kids, the programs, and the level of success of these programs you see on varying levels. And, good luck to him in his future endeavors. Also, Mr. Dansby did a pretty good job talking about the charter endorsed candidates in the platform. I look forward to what's going on here in the election. One thing I do want to ask you, Nate, though, the collaborative refresh, because I know, it was something that we talked about last year when I did my candidate forum with the NAACP in the free Prince Hall Masons. At what time or any time does that actual refresh come before council to be debated or voted on? Are you aware if that's what happens as a part of that process?
Okay. All right. Appreciate the question. All right. I'll let you go to answer, brother.
I want you to answer it. And the reason why I want you to answer because I think it is a little bit unfair because, yes, the collaborative refresh is what's on the tip of our lives, for us in our immediate community. Yes, that's a fair thing to say. But to insinuate that it is a role and function of council to not only negotiate that, but for them to have a perfunctory responsibility for that as a part of their duties, I think is a little bit misleading because that's handled by the city administration. But if you can answer that at some time, I would greatly appreciate it.
Oh, most definitely, brother. I appreciate you. All right, that's Brother Terrence Graxton. Well, what I would say is about the collaborative refresh is you said it's handled by the city administration. Okay. Well, who is the boss of the city administration? It's the council. That's very quite clear. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but to me, this seems like to be very, very basic. Hold on one second here, because I think we're getting a call from somebody who's an expert on it. I don't know. Okay, we'll go straight to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nathan. I'm sorry. I know you have a rule about calling back in, but here again, I just need to clear it up so that I don't get frustrated. So if you can't hear my voice this morning. The city council voted on the original CA to accept all provisions. This is continuous work, folks. And to be splitting hairs, it's not about a vote. It's about making sure that there's equity, transparency, and accountability in all policies in all departments and everything that police do, because you know why? We pay for them. And it bothers me to the utmost when Black folk get on here and want to debate the fairness and equity and transparency so that we are safe from the people that we pay to serve and protect us. So if you ask me, if you have no knowledge about what we're doing, about what is happening, and yes, we put this inside of the city manager's office so that the political apparatus would not be able to influence it. But we've seen that not happen within the last 10 years. We changed arbitration, and that's never been done before. And that is because of the original collaborative agreement. People who understand legislation and government understand that this is what works. When you have community and police and the city administration working together to right wrongs that have been on the books for hundreds of years. This takes work and attention. It takes commitment. And you don't always get that from people who say that they're running and that they're going to do it in the best interest of you. So to be splitting hairs about where did they vote? They voted on it when we came up with the refresh document, Terrence. So you missed that. You missed that. You have missed the legislation that Councilman Greg Lansman has put forth in support of the work that we're doing, in support of supporting people who are out here trying to combat gun violence. That's what that whole piece of legislation was, and putting money aside for communities like East Westwood, for the Black folk who've been out there trying to attempt to get things done, because it's not always about policing, but it is about community safety as well. That's what the CA gives us, guys. And if you read the document, if you kept up with the refresh reports, there's only 3 of them. If you paid attention to the master plan, I know everybody doesn't, and that's okay, because I'm going to be at the table. Black United Front will be at the table. Leaders of the Free World will be at the table. NAACP will be at the table. As the legal redress and the public safety chair, we're going to be at the table for Black folk to come so that our grandchildren won't have to debate these issues. Now, let me give you a fun fact. Yesterday, I think DOJ under the Biden administration came out with these chokehold provisions and rules to, what have we been talking about? No-knock warrants. Well, we just went through a whole revision of not just no-knock warrants in the city of Cincinnati, but regular warrants. We came on this show and talked about it to get the chopper's ideas on what this legislation should look like. How do we change these laws so that nothing like what happened to Sister Breonna Taylor happens in the city of Cincinnati? We changed chokehold laws 20 years ago. That was one of our first things we did because our dear brother, Roger Owensby Jr., was killed by asphyxiation. So because community is at the table, and we've not said we're going to make it a pledge because we're running for city council or for some office, but this is our duty to our people to make sure that we are protected as well. And whether it's from the building code department of the city or the police, we need to be there ensuring that we have equity, transparency, tangibles, and accountability because we pay taxes. We are tax-paying citizens. So to be on here splitting hairs is ridiculous to me. They do. And then the other thing that they do, as I said earlier, when people run, because people don't understand the significance of what we did in federal court and under the federal thing. And for your brother who doesn't understand, fairness, transparency, and accountability never expire. Never expire. And I think it was great that in 2008, all parties to the collaborative agreement, meaning the Cincinnati Black United Front, the FOP, and the city said that we would create the managers advisory group so we could stay at the table, so we can continue to improve people that Black people pay to serve and protect y'all. So let's not get it twisted here. Let's understand that people to this day, I'm talking to Bakersville, California, talking to Ken Lawson in Hawaii, talking to people in Evanston, Illinois about how to hire a new chief, what to look for. People want to understand what Black people did here in the city of Cincinnati on behalf of Black people in the city of Cincinnati. So yes, they did. Yes, they did have an opportunity to, but it does not give people who are running to come in and usurp or sabotage the change just based on ideology or what they think they believe needs to happen as it relates to policing in the city of Cincinnati. I just wanted to get that out. I'm getting a little frustrated this morning, but
you said it way better than I could. You said it way better than I could. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, because I was a little confused at the brother's question. I'm like, wait a minute, but she said it way better than I could. Splitting hairs. I think you're missing a point, brother. Missed the point completely trying to make a point. But she called in. I don't even really need to add to it. I think she said it very, very succinctly. If you're running for council, you should know and have read the recommendations in the collaborative refresh. So at the very least, you can maintain and sustain what's already been there at the very least. It ain't really about a vote, but she said it much better than I could. Let me see here. I had another guest scheduled, Joelene Almedarez, and I don't think she tried to reach out. I sent her all the information. I'll try to circle back around. She is a journalist with WVXU, and I'll try to reach back out to her and get her on. Maybe something happened, things happen. It's no big deal. But you got me at least for the next few minutes here at 513-873-7134. I appreciate all of the insight, all the conversation. We need all of this, and we all trying to get better and stay educated as to what's going on here. You see, but back to what Terrence was saying about, I wanted to ask him a question. I forgot. So it sounded like, again, there's still a question mark about what's going on over there at the West Half. And I get it, in the wake of the Gabriel Taille settlement and things that are happening, I can understand CPS like, you know what, we're not even gonna play with it. We're not even gonna play. We're gonna protect ourselves from any possible liabilities. I get it. Don't mean that it's fair or not, but I get it. Let me see. Catch up to your chat here. Let me check up. Catch up. TNT writes, like and share. Appreciate you. Good morning to you. David writes, Rack Iris. TNT writes, police can no longer police themselves thanks to Iris efforts. Rachel writes, Iris coming in hot. Oh my God. A coach is here to provide positive reinforcements for his team and to enhance goals. Listening and hearing is also required for positive results. Hold on, I'm getting a text message. Let me see. Oh man, unfortunately, it seemed like they were shooting over there in Roseline, unfortunately. Yeah, so listen, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I appreciate Darrick coming in. I'll circle back around after the show with my potential guest, my second guest, and see what happened. And I'll invite her on tomorrow, and perhaps we can have that conversation. I'm looking at the collaborative agreement refresh right now. All you got to do is type in collaborative agreement refresh. You can read all of it. And like I said, if you're running for city council, at the very least, you should be knowledgeable about the commitments between the community and the city and the police department. That's one of the biggest issues facing Black folks right now around the country is their relationship with the police departments. And in Cincinnati, we've had the same issues here. It's just too easy. It's just too easy to read it. And so, we got to quit lowering the bar. We got to raise the bar for the people that want to represent us all the way around. Because if not, that's why we end up getting. We got to raise the bar, not lower the bar. Hold on one second here. Oh, is that right? Okay. So I just got some more information. See, I figured there was more to the story over in West High. And I'm not going to tell you what somebody just sent me, but I figured that there was more to the story than what meets the eye, because there typically is. That's why I choose my words very, very carefully. I figured it was. Somebody sent me some information that if it's true, then that makes sense. Now I can understand. It makes more sense, should I say, as to why CPS did what they did. I figured there was more to the story for them to pull the trigger that quick. And like I said, in the wake of that settlement with Gable Taye, and people like me talking about it, people like you talking about it and keeping it in the forefront, and the way it makes Cincinnati Public Schools look, they want to make sure that they do everything they can to ensure that they do what they got to do on two levels. Number one, to make sure that they protect themselves from liability, and number two, they protect these kids out here. So I'll leave you like that, family. Have an excellent rest of your day. I really appreciate you. Remember our motto: winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. Stay winning, stay focused, and we'll catch up real soon. Now, before we leave, I'm going to put some information up from the NAACP about registration and voting. This is very, very serious and pertinent information. When you see this online, please like and share. It means everything. All right. Until next time, that's tomorrow morning, bright and early at 7 a.m. Just so you know, we go live now at 7 a.m., 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., 7 a.m. every single morning right here on social media. We'll catch up real soon. I'm Nathan Ivey, and I'm out.